Hey guys and ladies, this is Colin with cost per mile calculator, fuel cost per mile calculator, where we show you your miles per gallon, your DEF, your reefer hour cost in fuel. We also calculate your rate per mile and your profit per mile. But I'm not going to go over any of that today, but it's under a penny a mile that we charge. You take pictures of everything, you email it to us, we put all the information in, and then once a week we'll send you an email showing your business report, how much money you made, how much money you lost, where all your expenses were. We'll download all your invoices. We'll let you know when there's warranties coming up. We'll send you alerts when your driver's license, your medical card, your DOT inspection, all of that is going to need to be renewed. But right now I saw this come across this morning from Freight Waves, and it says it's time for a massive load board players to take responsibility for fraud. As we know, there's lots of load boards. I primarily use DAT, and then sometimes I use Truck Stop or Internet Truck Stop. But I wanted to show you today how easy it is for somebody to take advantage of you doing double brokering. I've been a victim, and I want to show you how easy it is. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to start with one of the big carriers like TQL. And we're going to come over here, we're going to hit load search, and we're going to look at TQL. So TQL, their MC number is 322572. Now, we all book freight with TQL, or we all have over the years. And, obviously they're very legit. Their credit is absolutely perfect. They're not going to rip anybody off as far as not getting paid or anything like that. But what happened to us was we booked a load with a company, and the company name was identical in the email, apart from they had added the letter S. So instead of it being Blue Logistics, for example, dispatch at Blue Logistics, it was dispatch at blueslogistics.com. How did they do that? They went to GoDaddy, they bought blueslogistics.com, added an email address, copied a rate confirmation from bluelogistics.com, and started booking loads and sending out rate confirmations. I didn't catch the S, and I didn't do what I'm going to show you that we should do now. But if you're ever doubtful, first of all, go to Safer. And this is Safer Snapshot, okay? I'm going to do what I just did and what I should have done. And we all think of TQL as TQL, so I'm going to type in TQL, okay? Under the name, I'm going to hit search. Okay, so right here, we have 2, 3, obviously it's not them, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know they're out of Ohio, but I'm going to click on this TQL, and it says they're not authorized. Okay, so I got a red light. Also, there's no MC number. I'm going to come back over to Truck Stop, and like we just did, we wrote down their MC number, 322572. So obviously, this is not them, and you've got to make sure, I guess, that you're searching in the right place. So let's search the name again. Let's try TQL out of, this one was North Carolina. Now this does have a DOT number, but not an MC number. So we have our MC number. What we're going to do now is TQL, if we go back to the load board, is not actually called TQL. It's called Total Quality Logistics. So typing in TQL to the website does no good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. We're going to type in Total Quality, and we'll put in logistics. Well, let's just see what happens. Okay, they show up here. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to click. And if you look right here, the MC number matches what I found online. But now I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to type in total quality. Let's see what happens if I type in total quality. Nothing on that one. Let's go back. Let's try it again. Total quality, and this is all live, guys, so bear with me. Okay, here's total quality. Which one do you think they might be if you didn't put in logistics? I mean, there's a whole ton of them here. Total quality this, total quality that. That's why it is so important to come over here, and we're going to go back one, and we have their MC number. So what we're going to do is type in the MC, which is 322572. Now, they have right here their MC number. They also have their phone number. Now, all of this other information, if you were being double brokered, could match. They could have even put in the MC number on the rate confirmation, so when you went to check credit, it showed up that they had great credit. But the only thing that they can't really do is change the phone number or use their phone number. So if you're ever suspicious, please go to FMCSA Snapshot, type in the MC number, and call the phone number right here. Give them the load information and ask them if that's a legitimate load or not. If it's not, they're going to love you for death because they now know that they're being double brokered, and you are going to love yourself because you didn't just get ripped off from a few $1,000s. This is the easiest way to check anything if you are a little suspicious. Please remember this. Please follow this. Also, please always check credit. It does not matter who it is. You have to check credit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back over to FreightWaves, and as the title says, it's time for massive load board players to take responsibility for fraud. Well, you know, they're kind of in the same boat we are. If they're not doing their due diligence and checking on, say, carrier 411 or something like that, and that's why you will find some brokers will ask you for the VIN number so they can match the VIN number with your insurance. Some brokers will call you back on the phone number that you have listed with FMCSA. So if the phone number listed on FMCSA is your home phone and you're 2,000 miles away, guess what? You're not going to get the load because you didn't answer the phone. So make sure all of the phone numbers are the same and you can be reached 24/7. Anyway, I want you guys to listen to this article. I want to make you aware of what's going on and how bad it is. And like I say, it's happened to us, and it just happened once, and it was over one individual letter in the email. Everything else looked perfect. So here we go, guys. This is compliments of FreightWaves, and I want you to listen to this and just pay attention. Let's see if we can all learn something. Hang on a minute. I need to get this back to the beginning. So let me come back over here. I thought I was already there. Obviously, I'm not. So here we go, guys. Back on the FreightWaves website, and here we go.
It's time for massive load board players to take responsibility for fraud. Load board fraud hurts the American trucking industry and should be a top priority for everyone in the space. The Wall Street Journal ran an article on April 26 detailing the load board fraud crisis and the proliferation of double brokering. As the Journal reported, leading load board provider TruckStop found reports of fraud jumped by 400% from the fourth quarter of 2021 to the fourth quarter of 2022, the highest level since the firm started tracking reports in 2004. It is likely that this article didn't shock anyone in the truckload brokerage industry because almost everyone who has worked in the industry has their own experiences with this form of fraud. FreightWaves has been reporting on load board fraud for years, shining light on a problem that is one of the biggest drivers of inefficiency and waste. There are two major types of load board fraud: double brokering, load fishing. Double brokering has been around for years, while load fishing is relatively new. How load boards are supposed to work. Before diving into the two types of fraud, we should take a look at how load boards are intended to work. A broker with a load posts an opportunity on a public load board looking for a carrier to haul it. Trucking companies will identify the loads they desire to haul based on the origin and destination, service requirements, and commodity being hauled. Often the price the broker is willing to pay is not posted alongside the transaction. Load boards work more like Craigslist than Amazon in that the load board will list potential jobs for truckers, but the transaction is executed outside the load board platform, often through email or on the phone. With more than 16,000 freight brokerage firms and 400,000 registered motor carriers in the U.S., the chances are very high that the carrier and broker have never done business together. In many ways, it's a bit of a Wild West and shockingly analog, despite investments toward digitization and freight tech that have taken place over the past decade. When the trucking carrier reaches out, a process of negotiation takes place between the broker and carrier. Often, a broker can be talking to dozens of carriers about the same load with the intention of finding the cheapest carrier that can meet the service requirements. In a legitimate load, after a price has been negotiated between the broker and carrier, a rate confirmation sheet is transmitted to the carrier, along with the shipment details. The carrier will then go and pick up the load, transport it to its destination, and notify the broker that the load has been handled with a signed proof of delivery. After that, the carrier bills the broker and the broker pays the carrier. What happens in double brokering? In a double brokered load, the outcome is very different. The load is sourced on a load board by a carrier that it isn't what it pretends to be. In fact, the carrier may not be a trucking company at all. It is likely a third party that pretends to be a trucking company using fake documents and may not have any real trucks. The fake carrier agrees to the broker's service terms and price offer and then turns around and brokers the load out to a legitimate trucking company. The original broker has no clue who the carrier is on the load. The legitimate trucking company picks up the load unaware that the load that it has received has been double brokered. The trucking company transports the load and delivers it, all the while expecting to get paid. This is where the fraud takes place. The original broker pays the illegitimate carrier, the one that double brokered it, for the load service. Since the double brokering fraudster didn't have any real expense in moving the load, the transaction is pure profit. It doesn't intend to pay the carrier that actually took the load. The carrier that actually did the load service attempts to get paid from the double brokering fraudster. The problem is that the business isn't legitimate and doesn't pay. By the time the carrier realizes it has been had, the double brokering fraudster disappears. The carrier has hauled the load and performed the service, never to get paid. The legit broker risks having to pay twice, once to the fraudster and once to the legit carrier. While the legit broker may not know initially who the carrier is on the load, if it doesn't get paid, there is a risk that the carrier attempts to collect payment directly from the shipper, hiring a law firm or collection agency to demand payment. Cargo theft, an even bigger problem for double brokered loads. In a double brokering transaction, the load can be stolen altogether. This is because the original broker has zero clue who is actually hauling the load to begin with, and without any information on the carrier, there is no way for the original broker to know the whereabouts of the cargo. Because the trucker received the original load from a broker, the double brokering fraudster it matched with on a load board, it believes the broker is legit. After the load is picked up, the trucker is contacted by the broker and told that the delivery destination has changed. Naively, the trucker delivers the cargo to a compromised warehouse, completely unaware that the cargo will be stolen. The trailer is stripped and the cargo is stolen to be sold on the black market. Load phishing emerging as major load board fraud risk. An emerging version of load board fraud is designed to steal cargo. It works a lot like wire transfer phishing. Load phishing starts out with a broker posting a load opportunity on a load board along with an email address. The broker receives an email from a carrier that wishes to match with a load opportunity. A negotiation between the broker and the carrier takes place and the broker awards the load to the carrier. The problem is the person on the other end of the email isn't legitimate. He or she is using a look-alike email address or claiming to be a carrier. These fraudsters are using legitimate trucking companies' information and credentials, but have zero association with the companies they are pretending to represent. The email will look legitimate, but the address may be a letter off or it could come from a Gmail address pretending to be a carrier. Once the load has been booked by the fraudulent carrier, a driver picks up the load and the cargo disappears. The risk of criminal prosecution is small. In many cases, the criminals who commit this form of fraud are getting smarter and more sophisticated with their efforts, as all successful criminal enterprises tend to get over time. Make no mistake, load board fraud is not a small-time crime. Those who perpetuate it are incredibly organized and sophisticated and have found a very lucrative way to make a lot of money very quickly and with little risk of prosecution. Load board fraud criminals often work from overseas, and with the proliferation of offshore brokerage call centers and service centers, it has become increasingly difficult to differentiate between a legitimate offshore brokerage or carrier staffing center and a fraudulent one. As has always been the case, the trucking industry gets little support from federal agencies or police departments that are responsible for investigating these types of crimes. When incidents are reported, the victims of such crimes, which can be everyone along the transactional chain, including shippers, carriers, and brokerages, get very little assistance from authorities. Because load board fraud is often committed via the internet and may cross multiple jurisdictions, including international borders as well as involving interstate commerce, investigation of these crimes should be the responsibility of the FBI. However, while the aggregate amount of these crimes is huge, the individual fraudulent transactions are usually quite small, less than a few $1,000s, an amount too low for a federal investigative agency that has much bigger crimes to deal with. Plus, load board fraud isn't well understood, even by a sophisticated investigator, much less a jury if it were to ever end up in the court system. After all, who would expect the massive $800 billion truckload industry to still transact a sizable amount of commerce on a Craigslist-like posting board? With shippers increasingly becoming the victims of stolen cargo propagated through load boards, we can expect that there will be an increasing level of pressure to move freight off the public load boards and onto private 3PL networks with private parties. If the load boards want to protect their business models, they will need to step up the regulation of their marketplaces and invest in fraud prevention tools.
Well, guys, there you go. Like I say, it can be a simple letter. They can use a fake Gmail account. But whatever you do, please, please check the credit, check the MC numbers. Do everything you can and call that phone number and make sure the load is legit if you're at all concerned about it. And this is one video we're posting today, and this is May the 22nd of 2023. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and look for some more videos. If you need help with booking freight, anything like that, please in the comments leave me some ideas. We'll be going over the cost per mile, profit per mile calculator here very soon, and we'll be looking forward to doing business together. Like I say, it's a penny a mile, and you will know all of your numbers, and we do all the work. All you have to do is send us a picture. Okay, guys, have a great day. Be safe. We'll talk here in a little bit.